So the talk today, pain pushes until vision pulls. And I love the idea of that because I think sometimes when pain shows up, we move into resistance and we want it to go away and we want to change it and we want to stop it and block it. And well, of course, that doesn't work so well usually. Pain acts as a motivator or a driving force until the vision of what we really desire pulls us forward. And we always get to choose where it is we're focusing. We can focus on the pain, the discomfort, the it's not working for me, or we can focus instead on how it is we choose to live life and what it is we're seeking as we do that. And so I wanted to share a little bit of my journey in Kenya. I've been back for a little over a week, and I have to say it was a truly transformative experience and one that I will not soon forget. It was probably the most remarkable time that I've had in my life experience, and I'm grateful for every single moment of it. So the journey, of course, began on a very long flight. And when I arrived in Kenya, I was actually struggling physically, experiencing a fair bit of pain in my body, too many hours on planes, and just trying to catch my breath. I was having some trouble with that when I arrived. So the first day, I ended up skipping a big portion of what everybody was doing simply because I knew I couldn't walk the 5 miles that they were going on this hike for. So I stayed instead and I was journaling and writing and exploring what I was feeling and the things that were happening for me as I arrived in Kenya. It was a very emotional and powerful experience. So as I'm dealing with emotion and, just mental thoughts about where I am and what I'm doing and what this looks like, what I realized was there was a huge, deep processing that was happening and very painful, but I didn't resist it. I just let it move. I let it flow. I journaled a lot about it. I wrote a lot of things. And as a result of that time of release, which lasted about 4 days, I really felt like I'd had an emotional, mental clearing, really powerful clearing. Now, on the fourth day, we were changing hotels. We were moving into Nairobi, into the KCB Center. And when I arrived there, my breathing had gotten much worse. I was having great difficulty catching my breath. I laid down for about a half hour. It wasn't normalizing. So we called an ambulance and I went to the hospital where it was discovered that I had pneumonia. The interesting thing at the hospital, the staff there were funny and fun. They were interesting, and we just had a really good time. One of the people I was traveling with came with me to keep me company while I was there. And then we Ubered back after I got the bag of medication that I would need to get rid of this pneumonia and went back to the hotel. Now, the interesting thing is that the next 5 days basically were spent in my hotel room. I wasn't able to attend the conference, and I really actually wasn't able to do anything. So I wasn't reading, I wasn't writing, I was just sleeping as much as I could, and I couldn't eat. As they would bring me food, I just couldn't eat. I ate the first 4 days really well, the next five, not at all, because it just didn't land. The interesting thing is that the whole experience was one of immense gratitude. What I knew had happened was in the emotional mental release, I actually then was having the physical release as well. Because when we unblock all of that stuff that we've shoved down and pushed down into our body, it has to go somewhere as well. So this time of healing that I was going through really was the catharsis of what I'd done those first 4 days. So I felt very blessed and very grateful for a couple of things. One was the girl at the front desk, whose name was Charity. she gave me her cell phone number so I could WhatsApp her if I needed anything. And she would come by my room and check on me, make sure everything was okay. The woman who, made up my room every day, she would come in, chit chat with me, bring me water, check on me, make sure I was okay. So I really felt like I was so well supported. And so my experience was very joyful. I couldn't move much, getting out of bed to go to the bathroom was a big job because breathing was so difficult. And yet, somehow, the whole thing was one of the most remarkable experiences I've ever had. I felt very supported. I felt very loved. I felt safe. I felt secure. And it was an interesting experience to imagine if I'd been at a hotel here in North America, I'm sure the experience would have been quite different. The interesting thing about Kenya, there's a 60% unemployment rate. The poverty is immense. The people that I met were so full of joy and love and gratitude for what they had. It was really a powerful experience for me to just experience their joy in the midst of what was a particularly hard life, much different than we have here. The other thing I noticed was that their healthcare system seemed to be light years ahead of ours. I was able to go in and get full workup in like 2 hours with full results of blood work, chest x-ray, the whole works. Even when I went in to have an echocardiogram, an ECG, they gave me my results immediately. Everything done so quick and easy and joyfully. The staff that I talked to, the people I spent time with, it was really positive. So for me, the whole experience was one of immense joy. And going into my body and feeling what I was feeling there and knowing that it was simply movement, that it wasn't good or bad, it was simply an evolutionary path of what had preceded it. So when we allow ourselves to simply let the pain move, what happens is we begin to get pulled by vision. And for me, the vision for my life is that we are, loving of each other, that we are creating a world that really works for the highest and best good of all concerned. And I had that experience there. I had this experience of just these beautiful people loving on me all the time, even though they didn't know me. They took the time to get to know me, and we had a really great experience. On the fourth day, my drivers who had driven me from the airport to the hotel, they stopped by to check on me and decided that I needed to leave the hotel, go get some juice or something at the store. They took me to the store, brought me back. And even just getting out for that hour was really transformative for me. So when we're in this experience that some of us would call bad, I had people, message me, go, oh, I heard you were suffering. And I emailed back going, no, not in the least. My body is releasing, yes, but suffering is not how I would describe my experience. It was a very joyful experience. So when we're looking at these uncomfortable moments in our life, we get to decide what they actually look and feel like. We can call it bad and wrong and awful and resist it completely and hold it in place. Or we can just surrender into it, knowing that the body knows what it's doing, that I'm part of an intelligent system and it's operating perfectly. And if I can do that, then the transformation happens so much easier and so much quicker and is a very powerful and positive experience overall. So I developed friendships that I never would have gotten to had it not been for this illness that I had, which I'm sure I had when I arrived. Just judging from how I was feeling, the shortness of breath. I think I either caught it on the plane or maybe right here before I even went. So we can look at the idea of pain as a pushing force that's moving us in another direction. And allow the challenges or the discomfort that we're feeling to actually let us know where we are on the path. And then from there, begin to look at it more as a blessing than a curse. And by doing that, we move it rather quickly, but also have a very positive experience in the process. So experiencing pain isn't necessarily a bad thing. So we want to just reframe how we look at life. Pain can be a signal that something is wrong or that we're facing obstacles or challenges that need to be addressed. So it can motivate us to take action, to make changes. It can move us into that place where now we are ready to begin to live from vision. And the vision for me, as you've heard in our vision statement, is about awakening to that authentic self, allowing that divine self to be revealed so that we can show up in a way that allows for immense transformation and great joy in life. And for me, like I have a tattoo on my wrist that says love is the answer. And for me, this whole experience was a very loving experience, first of myself, but then also for the wonderful people that I met. And I met so many that I probably would not have met if I'd only hung out with my CSL compatriots. So it really was a powerful, positive, remarkable experience. And I developed friendships that I'm sure will carry me forward for years to come. And I can't wait to go back. I'm looking forward to the day that I can go back and to experience Kenya maybe in a more touristy way than what I did the first time. But my last day there, I was well enough to go on safari. My driver took me on safari. Right in the city center, there's a huge savanna with this great wildlife reserve, the Nairobi Wildlife Reserve. And I was able to see the black rhino and the zebras and the giraffes and the lions and ostrich and water buffalo and warthogs and on and on and on. And it was really a remarkable, remarkable day. So the journey that we're on, although sometimes it takes a turn that is unexpected, if we go with the energy of that, always maintaining the idea of the vision that we hold for our life and for our world, what happens is we will meet and discover the most remarkable things on our path. So I wanted to also share a story today, because it's Black History Month. I wanted to share a story about Harry Belafonte, who, great musician, actor, but also a civil rights activist, and lived a life that really quite remarkable. He exemplified the power of resilience and determination. So he was born in Harlem in 1927 and obviously faced a lot of challenges through those early years. Grew up in poverty, didn't have the stability that most have. His mom was a Jamaican immigrant, and she struggled to provide for him and his siblings, often working long hours. His father abandoned them, so that had left a void in his life. So despite the adversity, right, we all have our moments, but despite that, he possessed a natural talent for singing and acting and discovered great solace and joy in music and found great comfort in the performing of that. So as a Black man in the racially segregated America of the time, his journey to success obviously fraught with obstacles. But he faced it at every turn, that racial prejudice, and took the time to continue to push forward, to continue to honor who it was that he knew himself to be. See, we can face all kinds of adversity, but it's up to us to maintain the vision of what it is we know about ourselves and what it is we desire for the world that we live in. And when we can do that, we can begin to move in a way that actually causes huge transformation. Doesn't mean that we won't have a challenge along the way. We likely will. But those challenges can be stepping stones to a bigger vision. And so that was my experience in Kenya. And I think that was the experience of Belafonte as he began to move up the ladder to cultivate his relationships and to create a life that, by any standard, is hugely remarkable. He accomplished a lot. And his story is a testament to the power of perseverance, empathy, and an indomitable spirit. Someone who refused to be defined by the pain, but rather chose to be inspired to live up to the greatness that was within him. You see, each one of us is born perfect, whole, and complete. Each one of us comes into this life experience fully filled with every potential and possibility. And then we're given messages that are layered on, and things that happen that might suggest to us that who we are is not good enough, is not valued. And so we have to decide for ourselves, who am I? No one can tell you who you are. No one can tell you what your purpose is, but you have one. Each one of us came into this life unique and special. Each one of us has a little something to bring to this life at this point in time that only we can bring in the way that we bring it. So who are you? And what is it that you have to share, to bring? And in order for us to really bring it, we have to release the past. I know, that's the easy part, right? Letting go of the past, moving into forgiveness. One of the exercises I did shortly before leaving was a forgiveness exercise where I would write out 35 times every morning, I forgive myself. What was the phrase? I forgive myself for judging. I got to read it. I wrote this out so many times, you think. I forgive myself for judging myself as. I forgive myself for judging myself as. Every morning for 7 days, I wrote that out 35 times with whatever popped into my mind. And at the end of the day, I did the same thing again. So forgiveness 70 times 7. Every single day for the 7 days. I also, in the evening, wrote out 9 things I appreciated about myself. And I want to tell you that as we journey through the forgiveness and the appreciation, we start to uncover, because there's such a repetition. You know, you get through the writer's cramp because you got to write it by hand, right? You get through the writer's cramp, you get through the initial, like, oh, I don't know what I appreciate about me, to what more do I have to forgive? And you start to realize the layers that are there that are ready to be shed and to be moved. And so as we process these different things, we actually free ourselves up. And it's a little bit like wearing a very heavy backpack and then taking it off. And it's like, oh, that feels good, right? We let that heavy weight go. And that's what releasing the past is all about. When we let go of our parents and our teachers and our siblings and anyone who has ever caused us to think of ourselves in a way that's less than our own perfection, that if we can release all of that, we open our hearts and our minds to begin to live from a place of great love and possibility. And that's when we're truly empowered to create the life that we've been dreaming about. So the pain of the past might be pushing us, but it's pushing us in the direction of our highest potential. And I know it doesn't always feel that way, but that is what's always happening. And if we will open up, if we will relax into what's going on and feel it and allow it to move, what happens is it moves quickly, but it also brings with it inspiration. So that's when the vision starts to pull us and pull us into a greater possibility. So when we know that there's something in me that the universe requires right now that only I can bring, that's a huge responsibility. Am I willing to be who I was created to be? And that's the question we're all faced with. The spiritual path is not about becoming spiritual. We are spiritual beings, and we're having a human experience which feels difficult and tight sometimes and limited. But what if it's only limited by an idea in mind? What if by changing our focus, what if about being grateful for everything, being grateful for pneumonia, being grateful for missing the conference, being grateful for the beautiful people supporting in that moment of need, being grateful for the laughter and the joy of doctors who can't pronounce your name, being grateful, all of a sudden would free you up to be happy and joyous in the midst of a health challenge or a life challenge of some sort. And the truth is, it does. The change that happens for me, I phoned a lot of people while I was away because my husband was telling me, oh, everybody's praying for you. And, people are worried. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want people worrying. So I would phone people and I made a lot of phone calls. And if I didn't phone you, my apologies. I didn't have everybody's numbers, but somebody would pop into my mind and I'd pick up the phone. And I did that because I knew Pierre telling people I was okay was one thing, but hearing it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, was another. And so I found that in the conversations I had with people, again, it was very uplifting. It was very powerful and positive. I felt just such love and appreciation from everyone I spoke to. And I know that it created a deeper sense of peace for anyone who might have been concerned about this diagnosis I had and how far away I was. I know my husband and my children were quite concerned about the whole thing. But at no point was I all that worried. It's like I really felt loved and supported. I knew I was in a safe place. I knew that whatever I had need of was there. And so when we have that understanding, it begins to shift everything that's occurring. And we begin to view it in a new way. So one of the things that I've discovered over this time, and I've known for a while, but really paid attention to, was when I have a pain in my body, I can resist it. I can take an aspirin. I can do whatever, or I can bring my awareness to that spot and just ask the question, what do I need? It's interesting how our body gives us messages. It's always telling us what's going on or what we really need. And if we will listen, and sometimes we have to ask a couple of times before we get the message. But what I noticed was in the moment when I would go into that, the pain would disappear instantly. It was remarkable. So the mind, the body, our essence, our spirit, it all is one thing. There isn't, my human self and my divine self. There's self, which is human and divine. And when I really allow myself to sit in that energy, when I allow myself to be with that, whatever it looks like, just knowing that what is, I can't change what is, but I can be with it in a way that allows it to move easily rather than with great difficulty. I love what the Buddhists say that, pain is inevitable in this life experience. Suffering, however, is optional. And I have to say that suffering was not at all a part of my experience in Kenya. Everything that I did there, all of the things that I got to enjoy, the people that I met, everything was pure joy. Some of it was difficult when the first few days we were doing a lot of walking. That walking was very difficult. But the things that occurred while on those walks was enriching and beautiful. The focus that we have, whatever it looks like, is completely up to us. Where we focus our attention, that's what expands and grows. If we call it bad, we're expanding and growing that feeling of bad. And if we just go, it is what it is, we again move it into a place of acceptance, of liberation, of freedom, and things change in ways that are beyond our wildest imagining. As we embrace the power of vision and take time to reflect on our aspirations, our goals, the idea of a better future, when the pain and challenge come up, we see them differently. We see them as an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. And because we're willing to understand and to be with it, a transformation occurs that is absolutely liberating. A journey well worth the extra mile. All right, so let us go into a meditation. I want to invite you to just set down anything that might be on your lap, close your eyes if you're comfortable, and just take a deep breath in. And as you exhale that breath, I invite you to just kind of scan through your body temple, maybe from head to toe, just moving your awareness through your body. And if you notice any spot that's a little uncomfortable, just breathe into it. Allow yourself to just look at it and ask the question, what do I need? And then begin to move that scan further down the body. When you get to the tips of your toes, just bringing it right back up. Again, just moving through the body. And anytime you notice anything uncomfortable, a little twitch, an itch, an ache, again, just drop your awareness there and ask the question, what do I need? And again, continuing to move that energy up and down, just scanning the body. And when you notice yourself off thinking about what you have to do tomorrow or later tonight, just interrupt that and go back to moving your awareness through your body temple. Feeling whatever you feel, accepting it as it is. Asking the question, what do I need? And then moving on. No attachment, no resistance. Just a natural flowing energy up and down through this body temple. And taking a deep breath in. Just feel your body relax completely. And one more deep breath in. And as you exhale, opening your eyes and returning to this moment.